Hi students! I want to help you a little bit this week with your week 5 discussion. Now, this is our last week, so you want to make sure that you complete this on time. One thing is our initial discussion, remember, is due by Wednesday of each week. And that discussion, if it's late, can be counted, but your replies cannot be counted. So let's make sure that we get everything in on time this week. So let's look at step 1. Step 1 in your discussion says, medical administrative professionals may be responsible for assigning some codes. Understanding the coding rules, the conventions, and the guidelines is important to ensure accurate, complete, and consistent coded data. Now there's many reasons for that. Assigning codes solely for reimbursement, and a lot of us think, as administrators, we really need that reimbursement to come in. But this is a good thought. Assigning codes solely for reimbursement can cause professionals to lose sight of the fact that coded data is also being used for monitoring other aspects other than the care that's provided by the hospitals and the providers. So with that thinking and knowing what you've learned the first 4 weeks, remember on page 25 we learned about, in our step-by-step textbook, we learned about the uses for ICD-10-CM. So knowing those things, you need to respond to these 3 questions. A good rule of thumb is to copy and paste these 3 questions in your discussion. That way you'll make sure that you answer each of them. Copy and paste it, then come down right underneath number 1 and put your answer. Underneath number 2 and put your answer. Underneath number 3 and put your answer. So the first one that you want to look at is you want to explain the function of ICD-10-CM coding guidelines. Now remember, your guidelines can be found in the very front of your manual, and there's lots of guidelines. So why do we use those guidelines? You want to make sure that you explain the function of the coding guidelines and how these coding guidelines affect the code assignment. So you can read through there and figure out what you want to put in your discussion. Now, the second thing that you need to answer is you have to describe 2 ways, not 1, but 2 ways assigning incorrect codes can affect the patient. Now, we've talked about this through the last 4 weeks. So you need to describe 2 ways how, if you coded the wrong code on a chart, how is that going to affect the patient? 2 ways that it's going to affect the patient. The third question is to describe 2 ways assigning incorrect codes can affect society. And you notice right here there is a link to the Center of Diseases website, the CDC. So you can click on that, do a little bit of research, and then come back and tell us how 2 ways, we need 2 ways, that assigning incorrect codes can affect society. So that's, everybody around us, our society. Now, once you've done that, that's going to be your initial discussion post, and that's due by Wednesday. You'll come back on another day and do a reply. Now, your replies have to be on separate days from one another, as well as separate from your initial in order to get maximum points. So let's say you do your first initial post on Wednesday, come back on Thursday and do your reply, then come back on Friday and do your second reply. That way you've met that 3 different days. You also want to reply to 2 different people, not the same person, and you want to give 2 different aspects. You don't want to copy and paste the same thing to 2 different people or say basically the same thing to 2 different people. You want it to be different. You have 3 prompts to pick from. So for each of those people that you pick, use one. So if on Thursday I come back and I reply to my instructor, I'm going to pick one of these reply posts to use. When replying to your classmates, discuss the purpose of ICD-10 coding conventions and guidelines. Remember, the guidelines are the rules for coding. The conventions are those like NEC, NOS, not elsewhere classified, things like that. Or you can choose a classmate's post with a different example of how an incorrect code assignment can affect society and say if you agree with that, and if you do, support your point of view. If you don't, support that point of view as well. So that's not just a simply yes or no answer. You need to support. Give support. Talk about why you believe that that could happen or it will happen. And then the third one is to reflect and share a meaningful connection. It can be a personal connection or a professional connection to a classmate or instructor's response. So you want to make sure that you use at least one of those in each of your replies. Now, there's a minimum of 2 replies, but you can do as many as you would like. So make sure you make that initial one by Wednesday, and both of those replies are completed by Sunday. Replies are not accepted late, so make sure you get in there and make those replies. I'm in your classroom, your discussion forum daily. I come to your posts and I ask questions. I do things to try to make you think more and to help you gain more points for your discussion efforts. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Just click on faculty availability. You'll see my telephone number, my email address. You can also get in touch with me through the course mail messages right there in Blackboard. So I look forward to reading all of your discussions this week, and I'll see you in the classroom.